So it is just revision of the previous lecture. In our previous lecture, we have shown you how to set the price of a product. When you are going to set the price of a product, you have to calculate the cost of manufacturing. After calculating the cost of manufacturing, you will add some profit. Profit you can charge in two different ways. It can be a certain percentage on unit cost, or it can be certain percentage on profit, 20% of the sales price. Not profit, means sales price. So here the buyer is going to buy 5,000 units, and your fixed cost to produce 5,000 units is $4,500, and your unit fixed cost is 90 cents. 5,000 divided by 4,500 per unit fixed cost, and per unit variable cost to produce the quantity. Garments, unit fabric for $1.6, thread 0.02, skin print, label, hanger, polybag, additional trim, testing, local transportation, fabric and trim handling, cost of making, documentation, and other variable overhead. So some of these figures is $3.1. Total unit cost, then variable cost per unit plus fixed cost per unit is $4. And your company policy is that you will earn 20% profit on sales price, not on cost price. So 20% on cost is equivalent to 0.20, 80. But your profit here shown as $1. That means it is not on your cost. You are going to calculate 20% profit on your sales price. So in that case, how you will calculate the profit on sales price? The system is that you will divide $4 by 1 minus profit percent. So here the $4 will be divided by cost, will be divided by your profit rate is 20%. So 1 minus 20%. And then you will get the sales price, and that is the sales price of your product. So if you now calculate that 20% on sales price, then you will get $1. 20% multiplied by 0.20 is $1. So either you can charge or calculate your profit on sales price, or directly you can calculate your price on per unit cost. Your per unit cost, the other things are same, $4, and 20% on 20% profit on unit cost. So it is easy, 20% on your cost, 20% on your cost, 80. 80 and $4.8 is the sales price. Both way you can calculate your price. So it depends your expectation. Your expectation may be 20% profit on unit cost. Your expectation may be 20% profit on sales price. In that case, if you are going to calculate your profit on sales price, then you have to consider 80%. That means minus profit percentage, 100% minus profit, 20%. If the profit is 30%, then it will be divided by 70% or 0.70. The cost, unit cost will be divided by 1 minus the profit rate, profit rate. So this is how you can calculate the per unit price of your product. So what you have to do, you have to sell 5,000 units at $5 if you expect a profit of 20% on your sales. And when you are expecting 20% profit on unit cost, 5,000 units you have to sell at $4.8, $8. So the most important thing is that you have to calculate the fixed cost and variable cost. Variable cost means the cost that varies with the level of activity. That means you are producing a shirt. So to produce the shirt, what are the cost requires? It is known as the variable. And if you produce 2 units of shirt, then same amount of additional variable cost you need. And say for an example, when you are thinking of high quality raw materials, say for an example, fabric, the previous fabric price was $1.6. Now you are thinking for high price, $2.6. So you cannot sell at your previous $5 or $4.8. What you have to do, you have to add additional $1 because it was $1.6. Now it is $2.6. The rules are same. The profit calculation system is same. Maybe you are going to automate your production facility. When you are going to automate your production facility, what will be the impact? Your fixed cost will increase. For automation, your fixed cost will increase. The fixed cost was 9,000, maybe it will be 15,000 because you have to buy machines. So in that case, 15,000 divided by 5,000 is your per unit fixed cost, and variable cost remains same. So total unit cost is 6.10 and 20% on profit on unit cost. So 20% on 6.10 is 1.22. So your sales price at 20% profit on your cost will be $7.32. So you can automate, but the impact will fall on the unit price. Maybe now the manufacturer has increased his demand from previous 5,000 to 7,000. When you are going to sell 7,000 units, your fixed cost remains same because fixed cost, your factory rental, depreciation of the machineries, etc. are same. Your fixed cost will not change. So your per unit fixed cost will remain same as the initial one. 0.90. 5,000 divided by 4,500 divided by 5,000 is 0.90. And it has now, as you are producing more units, your per unit fixed cost is decreasing. It is known as the economies of scale. When you will produce more, what will happen? Your per unit fixed cost will decrease because your 4,500 remains same. Divided by 7,000, it is 0.64. And variable cost is also 3.10. And when you are going to earn 20% profit, 20% profit, your profit on unit cost, 20% on 3.74. And your per unit price will be $4.49. That means your per unit price has decreased from 4.80 or $5 to $4.49. Why? Because of economies of scale. What is economies of scale? When you are producing more quantity of products, your per unit fixed cost will decrease because it was 0.90. Now the per unit fixed cost is 0.6. Variable cost remains same. Same per unit variable cost is fixed. So your unit price has decreased because of producing more number of products. This is known as the economies of scale. Here you can see economies of scale. Say for an example, the variable cost of a production factory is 15 and fixed cost is 200,000. The production capacity is 5,000 units. Calculate the average cost and draw a cost curve. Average cost means variable cost and fixed cost on average. Cost curve showing the 2000 units production, showing the 2000 units production, 3,500 units production and 5,000 units production and 6,000 units production. Assume that the producing beyond 100% capacity, your production capacity is 500. So when you are producing beyond your production capacity, when you are producing beyond your production capacity, you have to rent one more factory or you have to rent one more machine. So your fixed cost will increase. Beyond 100% capacity, your fixed cost will increase. Here your production capacity, when you are producing 2,000, 3,500, 5,000 and 6,000, what happens? Your per unit variable cost is same because to produce a shirt, when you are producing 2,000 unit, your fabric cost will be per unit will be 15. When, even if you are producing 60,000 units, your per unit fabric cost will be same. But variable cost here, variable cost was 200,000. So 200,000 total, oh, sorry, this is total variable cost. When you are multiplying by the units produced by the per unit variable cost, this is total variable cost. You can calculate it or not, it doesn't matter. And your fixed cost is 200, 200, 200, and now it has become 4,000. Why it has become 4,000? Because your production capacity, your factory can produce 5,000 units. When you are producing beyond your capacity, then you have to rent one more factory or you have to rent machines, and the fixed price for that machine or the room is 200,000. So you are producing more, you have to incur 400,000 fixed cost. Per unit fixed cost is decreasing. Your fixed cost is 200,000 and your units produced is 200. So 200,000 divided by 2,000 is 100. 200,000 divided by 3,500, 57. 200,000 divided by 5,000, 40. 200, this now it has increased to 400,000. So 400,000 divided by 6,000 is 67. So your per unit variable cost, per unit fixed cost has declined from 100 to 40 when you are producing more number of units. But when your capacity is going beyond, your per unit fixed cost again increase. So your average cost means $15 variable cost and $100 fixed cost. 115, 72, 55, and then again it increase. So units produced to 2,000, 3,500, 5,000, 6,000. And your average cost will be 115 when you are selling 2000 units. When you are selling 3500 units, your average cost will be 72. When you are producing 5000, your average cost will be 55. But when you are producing beyond your capacity, then your average cost increases. And graphically, if you show it, this is the graphical representation of the number of units and average cost. And at 5000, at 100% capacity, your per unit average cost is minimum. And when you are going to produce more than 5000, your average cost again increases. So economies of scale means that within your capacity, you will produce more number of units and your average cost will decrease. And up to 100% capacity utilized, your average cost will decrease. And above the 100% capacity, your average cost will increase. So, because of economies of scale, when the order quantity is increasing, from 5000 to 7000, your unit cost declines to 3.74 and it was 4 and it declines to 3.74. And your unit price is also decreasing from $4.8 to $4.49. So you have to produce more quantity, but you have to produce up to your capacity. If you produce more than your capacity, you have to outsource, number one, or number two, you have to rent one more factory, or you have to buy more machines, and your fixed cost will increase. And as a result of increasing fixed cost, your average cost will also increase. So this is how you can increase your order. That means if the buyer offers for more number of units, you can offer less per unit price. But when you are accepting orders, when you are accepting orders, what you have to think? You have to think your break-even point. So what is break-even point? Break-even point means that the price at which your total cost and total sales is equal. That means you do not have any profit. It is known as the break-even point. How to calculate break-even point? Calculating break-even point requires three important information. One is sales price. So previously we have calculated sales price. So to calculate break-even point, you need this sales price first. So sales price here is $4 and your total fixed cost is $4,500 and your variable cost is $3.1. So what you have to do, you have to calculate contribution margin. Contribution margin means sales price minus variable cost. Your sales price is $4 and your variable cost is $3.1. So your contribution margin is $0.9. To know the break-even point, what you have to do, you have to divide fixed cost. Your fixed cost is 4,000 divided by contribution margin here. Divided by contribution margin, your break-even point will be 5,000. That means you have to sell at least 5,000 units at this price. At $4, you have to sell at least 5,000. You cannot accept any order below 5,000 because if you accept any order below 5, 4,000, it indicates that your company is losing, incurring loss. So when you are accepting order, you also have to think about the break-even point. You can also calculate break-even point in dollar other than number of units. How you can calculate how much dollar amount you must sell to break even? In that case, you have to calculate contribution margin ratio. How to calculate contribution margin ratio? Or contribution margin is 0.90 divided by sales price is the contribution margin ratio. So here your contribution margin ratio is 2 to 5 or 0.23. Now the same system you will divide fixed cost by the contribution margin ratio. Fixed cost is your 4,500 divided by contribution margin ratio, and you will get the dollar value. That means you have to sell at least 20,000 units to at least $20,000 to break even. So maybe if now the buyer is negotiating, then you have to say that you have to buy at least 5,000 units at $4, or you have to place an order equivalent to 20,000 units, $20,000. Sorry, you have to buy at least 5,000 units or $20,000. It is known as the break-even analysis, and before accepting the order or to negotiate the price, you have to know how to calculate break-even point, and we have shown it in our previous lecture. Now we are just giving you a revision. If you have any problem, then we can solve the problem. And this is when you are when the price is decreases. Say for example, now the buyer has offering $3.5 instead of $4. So when they are offering $3.5, your contribution margin is decreasing to 0.40. So same system, you will divide fixed cost by the contribution margin. Then now you have to sell at least 4,500 is your fixed cost, and contribution margin is 0.40. You have to sell at least 11,250 units rather than 5,000 units. Now you have to sell at least 11,000. And if you think about the dollar value, so contribution margin ratio is 0.11. So fixed cost is 4,500 divided by contribution margin ratio. So you have to sell at least $39,375. That means your break-even point is increasing when the price is decreasing. So that means when you are negotiating as a merchandiser, you must have to calculate the break-even. Otherwise, the company will be the losing concern. So you must be very careful. All right. And also the same thing we have given in a cost format. Maybe you can remember the variable costing technique. Can you remember variable costing technique? These are the product cost: direct materials cost, direct labor cost, and manufacturing overhead. These are the three components of the cost: direct materials, direct labor, manufacturing overhead. This is known as product cost. So when you are calculating, say for example, your direct cost, fabric is 1.6, trims is 1.59, and your SMB, you need to know SMB to calculate the labor cost, if you can remember. Your SMB is $8.5. Your SMB is 8. your SMB is $8.5, and we have shown you how to calculate SMB. However, we will again show how to calculate SMB today. So your SMB is $8.5, and your per minute cost, factory cost is $0.09. So multiplication of SMB and per minute cost gives you the labor cost, and labor cost is here 0.77, and manufacturing overhead is $0.01, variable and fixed is 0.04. So your and how you have got the fixed manufacturing overhead? You have got fixed manufacturing overhead by dividing the total annual estimated yearly manufacturing cost is 1 million, and your estimated yearly production amount is 40,000 units. You are thinking that you can sell 40,000 units in a year. So your per unit fixed cost will be per unit, it is 40, sorry, estimated. No, this is cost. Sorry, this is ultimately cost, not the. And this is the volume. You are going to sell 1 million units, and your cost is 40,000. So 40,000 will be divided by 1 million, not 1 million by 40,000, because your cost. This is your cost, estimated yearly cost. That's why it is 0.40 is your fixed manufacturing overhead cost. And if you can remember that in our previous lecture, we defined it as predetermined manufacturing overhead rate. So this is the predetermined manufacturing overhead rate per unit. And your variable cost per unit, operating cost, sales and marketing cost 0.2, your variable administrative cost 0.0, your fixed sales and manufacturing sales and marketing cost is 0.03, your fixed administrative cost is 0.03, and it is coming from here because 30,000 is your fixed sales and marketing cost. So 30,000 divided by 1 million is equivalent to 0.30. Similarly, your fixed administrative cost is 30,000. This will be divided by 1 million. And your unit cost is $3.1. And your sales price, if 10% profit on cost, 10% profit on cost, that means 10% on 3.10 is 0.31. 3.10, 10%. And if you sum up, then the sales price will be 3.44. So what you are going to do in your assignment, that in your assignment you will do all these type calculations, and then you will ultimately show in a cost sheet. This is ultimately a cost sheet for you. So you will develop such cost sheet. That is your assignment that you are going to present in coming week, when you are going to present. And okay, one more thing, then we will come up to accept your questions. So SMB is 8.5. How to calculate SMB? And as we have shown you before, that to calculate SMB, what you have to do, you have to say, for example, here you are going to calculate the SMB for 3 operations: cutting, sewing, and finishing. Altogether, you can do that. So to know the standard time of cutting a product, what you will do, you will choose an operator. The operator first time cut the fabric in 5 minutes, second time it took 6 minutes, third time it took 5 minutes, fourth time it took 4 minutes, fifth time it took 5 minutes, sixth time it took 4 minutes, seventh time it took 3.5 minutes, eighth time, ninth time, and 10th time it took 4 minutes. So what is the average time? You will sum up. Sum up is 45 and total number of cycle is 10. Total number of cycle is 10. 1, 2, 10 trials. So 45 divided by 10. Your observed time is 4.5. And performance rating of that particular employee is 80%. So take 80% of this observed time, 3.6. And average allowance rate is 10%. Average allowance rate is 10% means that there is a machine breakdown. There are some other problems. So you are taking 10%. That means you will add 10% of basic time to calculate the SMB, or this is known as standard time. This is also known as standard time. So what is the standard time to this 0.36 is 10% of basic time. 10% of basic time is here. All right. 10% here multiplied by allowance rate. So your standard time is equals allowance plus your basic time, 3.96. Similarly, you can calculate the standard time or SMB for sewing, standard time for finishing. And altogether, this is known as SMB to produce a garments. SMB to produce a garments. And sum of this three figure is 10.805. So you can use 10.805 here. 10 point this one plus this one plus this one. Then your labor cost will be 0.97 per unit, and your unit sales price will be 3.67. Similarly, these are done in a similar manner. You have to calculate SMB, and SMB is important because without SMB you cannot calculate the labor cost. And there are some more applications of SMB. We are going to discuss more details about the application of SMB in a separate lecture. For the moment, if you have any questions, you can raise. আপনাদের কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকলে এবার করেন. So when you are developing your cost sheet, you have to discuss with many different issues. This is one of the components. এটা একটা. কিন্তু আপনাদের কিন্তু অনেক লেকচারই আমি দিয়েছি, ওগুলি সব বিবেচনা করে তারপর কস্ট শিট তৈরি করবেন. ওটাই আপনার নির্ভর করে আপনি কোন গ্রেড পাবেন. আপনারা কি সাথে আছেন? খালিদ,
Yes, sir.
জি
কোনো
স্যার।
সমস্যা আছে বুঝতে?
স্যার
বুঝেছেন?
অ্যাসাইনমেন্টটা স্যার এক্সেলে কি দিতে হবে কষ্টটা স্যার মানে
সব জায়গায় করবেন। এক্সেল তো আমিই আপনাদেরকে দিয়ে দিলাম, আরো স্ট্যান্ডার্ড এক্সেল করবেন, তারপর দিবেন। আমানুল্লাহ, কি অবস্থা বলেন? কোনো সমস্যা আছে কিনা?